Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Something Something podcast. My name is Eric Kasloff, and with me, as always, is Larry Sands. Say hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Well, Larry, it is 2019.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, now I gotta say this.
2018 just came and went, didn't it?
I know, and I gotta say this. I knew that senator was an alien robot, and he took off his mask and
You
proved
called
it.
it. I remember.
I proved it months
I remember
ago.
you called it. Yeah, I remember that. You said he had a twinkle in his eye and it looked a little
I knew
alien.
it, man. I knew it. What other crazy things have happened since the new year started?
Oh, man. I finally started editing my Christian film.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, it really is.
Geography has changed too.
Huh?
How geography has changed. North Carolina and South Carolina are just Carolina now.
I know. And what about Florida? Now it's all the way over in England.
That was weird, man. How did they manage
totally
that
weird.
is what I want to know.
Now they call it the United Republic Island of Florida-ish.
No, but in all seriousness, we're recording this on December 17th, 2018.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year and happy holidays, whoever, if you're listening to this. We are going to have hopefully you've just listened to the wrap-up show that we put up at the end of December. But yeah, this is going to be a cool new direction for the show and for our lives. I know you've got projects, Larry, that you're working on now that you're passionate about. Hopefully, I'm ready to talk about Hillsborough Road in the next few weeks. It's done. By the time you're listening to this, the script's done, Larry.
Excellent. I love it. I love it.
Because I forced you to read it.
I know. But I mean, you got to hold my hand because Eric and everybody that's listening to this, I'm an actor, I'm a filmmaker, I'm whatever, but I just can't seem to sit long enough and read a script. I'm the worst actor in the face of the planet.
I could get some that are worse than you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Not your acting ability. Your acting ability is solid,
Thank you. I can cry on cue.
Because I make you cry whenever I want.
I know. It's like Major Pain. Have you ever seen that movie?
I love that movie.
I love that movie. He goes, you want something to cry about? You want me to take your mind off that pain? He goes, let me see your finger. Snap. Ah! Yeah, anyway.
All right. We need to get serious now before our guest leaves after this, which has happened on several occasions.
I know. They've just walked out.
Wow. I want to introduce our guest, Larry.
What? Oh, okay. So this is really cool. And I'm super, super excited because obviously this is the new year and this is the time to, the new year is a time for everybody to reflect on the past year and to look ahead. And really that's what our wrap-up podcast was about. And to really make plans and lay them and set them for 2019, right? And the many years to come. And I think everything happens for a reason. And we have a gentleman by the name of Victor Johnson. He is with us here today. Let's see. He's a real estate investor. He's a mentor. He's a published author. But I think most important this is kind of weird because to me, being an entrepreneur encompasses everything that you do. And I think, Mr. Johnson, hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
I'm good, man. Thank you guys for having me, man. You guys are a hoot, man. I love this. This is awesome.
Well, Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you. And actually, I'm kind of excited because, starting out, obviously we have, Eric and I were talking, we have personal goals that we want to accomplish, but also we have goals with our production company, with the podcast, with the films and creative stuff that we're doing collectively and individually. And I think, and maybe you can speak a lot about this, not just a little bit, but about, it's not just all talk, is it?
It is not.
You know, and I talk a lot, so I apologize, but I'm super excited about talking to you. Just about on your website, first of all, and we'll have the link. Yep, we'll have the link in the description and everything.
Cool.
But this, you are a mentor, but a motivational. I think. Okay.
Deep breaths, Larry. Deep breaths.
I know. I think.
Why don't you take us from the beginning, like chapter 1, if you would?
Yes. How did you become who you are today?
So thank you very much. I appreciate you asking. So I'm a regular dude. I grew up in the Bay Area, California, Oakland, Richmond area in the 1980s or whatever. I was born in 1974, so I'm 44 years old today. In 2019, when
Happy
this
birthday.
thing goes, I'll be close to 45 years old, man, believe it or not. Anyway, so this whole thing got going. I grew up in a single mom household. She was always a strong hustler, worked hard, all that good stuff. But I ended up moving to Atlanta to move with my dad when I was 17. And I thought I was going to go to college and all this great stuff. I didn't go to college because he was making much more money than my mom was. So I didn't get any of the loans or the grants, that I thought I was going to get. Long story short, I ended up starting to have kids instead of going to college. I don't know if anybody's ever did that, but I did it. So, having these kids, you start, you kind of shift your gears. You start figuring out, I got to start feeding these little things just running around here and all that kind of stuff. And so I found myself living check to check, low credit score, couldn't really get anything that I wanted as far as credit applications, or if I did, I was paying these excessive interest rates and late fees because I was never paying things right. And I ended up, I guess, just being in the situation where I'm making all this money, but it's going out the door even faster than I could bring it in. And so I got tired of that. I'm looking at these kids growing up, and I just got sick of it, and I started reading a lot and researching about how to get my money right. And the short version is basically I became this guy that just became self-taught, taught myself how to get my finances together, my credit together. And I started setting goals for myself. So there's so many tangents we can go off from there, but it started out from me being this young dad, 2 baby mamas, living check to check, poor credit, 550 credit score, and I just needed to get it figured out because I could not continue to live that way, for the rest of my life.
Man, oh man, I tell you. So, as a creative person, right? I find that a story is a story. Everybody, to me, everybody is connected by our emotions and our story. And even though nobody has the same life path as you or as me or as Eric or as anybody listening to this, but the people that listen to this and take it to heart they'll grab on to little pieces of segments and sentences and things that you just said, and they'll connect it to themselves. And I think that is like the coolest and most truest and most purest thing that anybody can learn from. Anybody, especially when they've gone through it and lived it, just like what you have, Victor. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, are you a better person to have gone through that, to be able to stand here today and speak about the truth?
110% better person than I was, because I understand the adversity. I understand, not having a meal to eat for the whole day, but I was able to pay that $2 to get on the bus to go to work. I'm hungry as hell, but I did get to work that day. But if you've not gone through things like that, or had to try to, find a way to do day labor so you could pay for diapers that night for 2 kids that you created or whatever, you don't really get it. You don't understand why you have to work so hard to prevent that from happening again in your life. And so for me, as I was going through it, it may not have felt as severe, but looking back at it, it really has made me a better person. I'm just so blessed and fortunate that I made it through some really hard times at one point, and some low moments. And I'm happy to be here today for sure.
Man, I'm glad that you're happy. Hey, you know what? Let me rephrase it. I'm happy that you're here talking about your life and what you've been through and sharing this, because what is the biggest motivation? And maybe people listen go, duh, but what is the biggest motivation to be what did you want to, man? Okay. So see, I'm getting excited, a little ahead of myself, because,
okay, baby.
Again, I'm excited because, first of all, creative people are just like that. They're, they've got so many ideas, and they've got 20 jobs. They can't do one thing to get another thing done. Right. And it's very hard. Mm-hmm. So at what point did you finally say enough, and what do I need to do to grab a hold of life and me? How do I control my life instead of my life controlling me?
Great question. So I think what happened for me on this, Larry, was that I met a woman, and I was, early 30s or whatever. And she had a child that was 9, and I had 3 kids already by this point, and we brought them together. So we blended our family, and I'm looking at these preteen and teenagers that, again, have expectations out of me as a dad, as a household head of the household. And, I got tired of not being able to produce for them the way that I felt like I should be able to produce for them, and now I'm in my mid-30s or whatever. I got a family. We were able to finally get a house, but I wasn't taking vacations with these kids, or if I did, we were scraping and pulling every nickel together to drive from Atlanta to Myrtle Beach for 2 days, or, down to Florida for 2-3 days, just because I didn't have the money or credit cards to really do it properly. And so I just got sick of it, Larry. I got really sick of not being able to produce. And I'm getting older, and it was very motivating for me. And so that was kind of a wake-up call, so to speak, is looking at these kids and not being able to do as much for them. And again, I've always been a go-getter. I've always been able to get decent jobs. I didn't understand how to manage the money. And so something clicked along there. I was like, okay, I got to get these dollars together. And I started setting goals for myself. And so that is kind of where you kind of started to show it with goals, and, going into this new year, how are you going to, put yourself in a better position than you were previously? And for me, my goals, and what I talk about in the book, Proven Pathways to Wealth and Happiness, is the number one thing you got to do is set proper goals and start with the end in mind. What's the end result of this goal? What am I trying to accomplish? Because if you don't understand where you're trying to get to, it makes it so much more difficult to start out on the right path, And so exactly. I started getting those things down pat, and that's what really, really happened for me.
That's a great point you made on some setting goals and figuring out how to get there. It would be like deciding, okay, I'm in Jersey and I want to take a road trip to Seattle. And if I just decide, you know what, I don't need a map and I don't need to plan out how much it's going to cost. I'm just going to throw caution to the wind and see what happens. Well, probably in Connecticut, knowing me, I will break down crying and not know what to do next.
Exactly.
I think, and another thing you mentioned is I feel a lot of times people who have very low money act like they have a lot of money, and people with bigger income seem to act like they have lower income. And that's one thing I'm noticing with myself. It's like thinking about, like, my nephews love buying expensive sneakers because their mom, my sister, or my brother-in-law buys, and I'm like, man, $300 on a pair of sneakers. Do you know
Wow.
all the stuff I could do with that? That's at
Exactly.
least a couple days worth of food, a cell phone bill. So why is it that we as people do that? And well, what advice would you give, especially now, to people graduating high school and college about controlling their money and not letting it control them?
That is an excellent, excellent comment. I love that, Eric. So in the book, Proven Pathways of Wealth and Happiness, I have a chapter called Changing the Way We Think About Money. One of the reasons that this happens is because in our country, and I'll speak about America predominantly because that's where I've been living all my life, but in our country, we get caught up with the images of others, or everybody's familiar with the keeping up with the Joneses statement. And, you get caught up in trying to impress other people because you don't want them to think that you can't do this or you can't afford that, when in reality, they're probably in just as bad or worse predicament that you are financially, at least until you get it together. And that's a bad attitude. And what happens is I can speak specifically to my race of people, Black people, and a lot of Black people, and maybe even Hispanics or people who grew up in lower income areas. You get caught up in that. I have to show that I came up. I made it.
Yeah.
I got out of here. Well, you're not out of there if you're still there and you're wearing $300 shoes. You're actually still there. You just wasted $300 on some shoes.
Yeah.
So what happened, you just got to change the mentality. And I call that the scarcity mindset, where a lot of people will try to, they're fearful to spend money on the right things and they spend it on this BS stuff. And it's the scarcity thing. I'm going to hold on to it, or I'm going to spend it on the wrong things.
Yeah.
Versus the abundance mindset, which says, you know what, I'm going to spend money with good intentions. We'll spend it on things that are going to benefit me, my family, my community, or whatever. And don't worry about that. Plan it properly, but that money comes back to you because you have a good intention for it. You have goodwill for it. So, there's several points that I make in that chapter, but one of them you hit pretty hard on the head there, Eric. And that is, stop trying to impress other people, because this is going to keep you broke, and at the end of the day, you're not going to accomplish your financial goals if you're just chasing around trying to make yourself look better by wearing better shoes or gold chains around your neck.
And again, I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with that, but if that's what your whole goal is, then, you're missing the point. I feel a lot of times when people do stuff like that. It's like buying a really expensive watch. I don't think if you got the money and you want to do that and buy an expensive watch, cool. Because I always think gold never goes down in value. I could sell that thing right away afterward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
But that's the point, Eric, right there. You just said it. Your mentality behind the purchase is long-term. You're thinking about the growth of that gold watch, not, hey, I'm going to just go in the club and show it off and let people see that I'm wealthy.
Speaking of the book, and I'm glad you brought it up because, again, now I'm reading from your website. And it's the page, the book. And I really, really like this quote that you have. Could I read it?
Yes, please. Absolutely.
It's so cool. And this speaks to me right now. So I just got to tell you, we must get uncomfortable for real change to take place. As you continue reading and visualizing these positive images, you will draw some positive results towards you. They may be small, but you will know that they are a direct result of these daily habit changes that will be enough to keep you going as you continue. More and more blessings and great things will come your way. Stay the course, believe in yourself. Know that you have what it takes to be better than you were yesterday. Fight for your future self. Ooh, I just got the chill bumps.
I like that a lot.
How now, this may be a dumb question, but how in the world did you come up with that?
Hey man, I'm a creative thinker just like you, and and I believe in speaking and writing from the heart. I'm not very good at masking my feelings, so when I'm saying something, I'm speaking with passion, enthusiasm, and energy. And again, I had to tell myself that, that was like my future self telling the old me that, 10 years ago. And because I was able to remember that speech to myself, I was able to put it in a book and share it with the world, and obviously I didn't say it exactly that way to myself, but I had to be able to challenge myself. And all of the successes that I've found in my life came from some level of discomfort. I had to get uncomfortable with being okay with things the way they were, with the status quo. I had to break out and say, you know what, I'm going to get uncomfortable for a moment so that I can grow. And then I'm going to get uncomfortable again so I can grow even more, and that's how you got to continue to do it. But you have to be your biggest cheerleader if you're going to go out here and make changes to your life, especially when you're talking about your finances.
And listen to what he just said. You have to be your biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's just you, and obviously as a creative person, we have to we got to keep talking to ourselves, and not like we're crazy, not like we're insane, but to keep us from going insane, that we're on the right path, that we're doing the right thing, that we are sowing the seeds so they'll come back to us.
Yes.
And I really like that. I mean, we could go on all night talking about just this, like you're saying right here on the page. But I think the biggest thing is we must get uncomfortable for real change to take place. Because when you hear people say, "Oh, I'm so comfortable," and it's kind of like, but it's like so normal. I don't know. Is that a bad thing to think that,
It's not, and again, everyone has their own ambitions and things in life. For some people, it's just about getting to a place where they're able to support their family that's in the house with them. They got a comfortable roof over their head, a reliable car, and a job. Hey, man, that's awesome. That's really what it's about, to be honest with you. But again, what really your challenge is or what your goals are in life. And if there's something that's been poking you for years and you're not doing it because, well, I finally got the house and the job and the car and my wife and my kids, this is all that's out there for me, but you really had a desire to be an actor or a writer or to go out there and, do something big for your life, still do it. Go out there and pursue that. But again, you're going to get uncomfortable because now you're going to have to come home in the evenings and sacrifice some of that time where you would have been sitting there watching TV with your wife.
One quick statement I would like to make is I'm all for being your own cheerleader, and planting seeds is very important. And here's a question I would like to ask, something I would like to talk with Victor about. A lot of times people talk about planting seeds, and that's a great, like I said, I'm repeating myself, that's a great thing, but nobody wants to water their seeds. With your book, is it going to explain to people how to go about those step-by-step processes of watering their seeds?
Yes, to be exactly true about this. So for me, I've read so many books, man, that I'm a different kind of reader. I'm able to read and kind of maybe get a message out of it and still, put things to work. But there's so many people that read and they really just need you to really hand it to them in an easy, digestible way. And it was important to me to deliver this book in that format. So at the end of pretty much every chapter, I have a kind of a roundup of here's some exact things you can do if you want to be successful in that area. You know, for example, I talk about in one area where I was really focusing heavy in on my credit score and things like that. I put some exact things in there about, you know, how you can negotiate settlements, how you can contact creditors, what to do if you're trying to get a reduced payoff on things, getting a copy of the settlement letter before you make the payment so you don't get hustled out of that money, even though you've paid a reduced amount. You know, I give exact tips, and these are things that I actually did and they worked. So I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm actually saying, hey, look, this is what I did. Review your credit score, your credit report for inaccuracies and fraudulent claims. If you notice anything, you can dispute them. And I actually have a company that I'm part of that we help people clean up their credit scores and whatnot, called creditrestorationmentors.com.
Link will be in the description.
Perfect. Excellent. And so in the book, Eric, what I did is try to make sure you might have read 5 or 6, 7, 10 pages or whatever of that chapter, but at the end, I give you some real nuggets to implement in your life to help you with that particular chapter's topic.
That's great. That's such good stuff to put in, because you could read countless books like, hey, this is what I did. But a lot of times the speakers or authors will never say exactly. They'll tell you, hey, I did all of this, but never mention what they did. And I think one of the biggest problems I have with myself and people in general is, like I was saying, you know, we set these big goals, or we pray, fast, speak, try to speak stuff into existence, but we don't do the legwork.
Yes.
Like, I worked in youth ministry for years at my church, and I would always notice, you know, people would pray about stuff, but never do things to achieve what they want. We just feel, you know, I'm going to pray about meeting someone, then just kick back on the couch and not do anything.
Yep.
You know, it would be like saying, man, I'm hungry, and you could afford what you want to eat, but not going to get it, and then getting upset. Well, you know, I've done all this, but I'm not full.
Right. You know, the universe is set up in such a way, and it's been around for many, many, many centuries. So there's nothing really new that's happening in our world. And the thing is that there's so many people that are holding on to this great knowledge that they have, but it's out here, especially now. You can pick up your phone, your laptop, your tablet, and find out about anything out there. So for me as an author, trying to help people to improve their finances, their goal setting, their career path, whatever, real estate investing life, for me, it was, I have to share what I have learned, and I want to put it in a way that makes it easy for people to implement, take action, and make it work for themselves. And I just hate when I come across people that have all this great knowledge and wisdom, and they just like, well, pay me $25.99, you know, to get this class and course, and I'll teach you everything. And I'll be honest with you, I've paid for these classes and learned these things, but I want to be a little bit different and put people on a path where they can get what they need in 123 pages. And Awesome. If you want more, go out and get more. There's ways to get more information. And like I said, you know, if you need help with credit, there's things we could do. If you're trying to get into real estate investing, things we could do. But I'm not here to try to become this mentor of selling all these major classes. I just want to share information and see just people have a better quality of life.
You know, in
before
other words,
Larry gets in, I gotta share something really cool.
Okay.
I'll never forget this. At my old church, they were having a guy come in who was hosting a seminar about how to save money, which is a great thing. And he was charging $300 a head for this seminar. I'm going to save everybody $299 right now. I'll only charge you $1 for this. A good way to save money? Don't pay $300 to learn how to save money.
Brilliant.
That's it. That's a mic drop right there.
I
And
love
there'll
And
be
if you are
a,
gonna pay that much to learn how to save money, I have a bridge in New York I could sell you for a great price.
Yep. Yep.
and to add to that, there will be a PayPal link at the end of the description to send to Eric Kaslow.
Oh man.
I would-
Well, I'm sure
I was
you've seen people do that, right? Have these, like, you're doing it on a very nice grassroots level, one-to-one, honest, but there's these people who try to rip people off instead of helping people make money, which in turn will help you grow your businesses and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's where the rub is, I think, too. People have been burned so many times that they don't know, like, who to trust or who to turn to or who to confide in. Everybody has these agendas. But I can honestly tell you that just by listening to you and talking to you, and I say this with all the sincerity in the world, is you are the real deal, because you've been there and you've done it. And you're not just like out there going, oh yeah, why don't you come to this and that? It's like, no, really, I've been where you are. I know how to help you get out of these situations.
Yeah.
And to add to that, I do notice that you have your book in audio form, right?
Yes.
It's also you can get it on Amazon, or you can get it on your website.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is, I mean, just by talking to you, you're different, because not only do you give people information, you give them in the end, just like what you were saying. And I'm so impressed, because people don't normally do that. They just kind of, oh, well, here's this, and let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate, that you have done that, and you take the time to kind of wrap everything up and say, no, let's put you on a correct path and do it. How did you first, golly gee, okay. Why did you want to write the book?
I love telling this story. So I've always been a writer. And I'm sure at some point in my life I was saying, oh yeah, I'll write a book one day, blah, 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 blah. But I never really got serious about it until June of 2018, which is just this past year.
Wow.
So what happened was I had an event, and I've done a couple interviews now, and I talk about this, but this was really a huge success for me and my wife. So on May 30th of 2018, I was able to close on a property that we had both been investigating, some rental properties, actually down there in San Antonio. There's 2 properties down there we were looking at, and I was able to close on those properties from my living room table in Carrollton, Texas, on my lunch hour from my corporate job. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute. But again, to answer your question about the book. So it was such a successful, blessed day for me. I was just so happy that I was able to pull this off. I had 2 notaries come to my house on my lunch break, and we closed 2 transactions during that hour and 15 minutes.
Wow.
And I went back to work and went to some meetings. But that day I posted about it. It was like, hey, it was a really productive day. Got to close on 2 properties from my living room table. What a great day, And so my sister, amongst many others, had showed some love and was like, hey, man, that was really awesome. How'd you do that, man? What's going on? So anyway, my sister, Enrica, asked me if I would host a phone call with her and a couple friends on that following Sunday. And I was like, yeah, sure. As long as it's early before I go to the gym or whatever, let's do it. And they called and we spoke for about an hour. And I pretty much just started talking to them about real estate investing and, some of the things that they could do to get into the game. And from that conversation, I realized, like, man, I wish I could do more. I only got an hour. A lot of people got to start from a different place. Some people need their credit cleaned up. Some people need to figure out the financing. Some people are not in cities where real estate investing is just going to be an easy slam dunk for you. So I realized that I need to put more information together. And so, you know, she actually asked me to do another call, and that's when it really hit. It's like, you know what, I would be in a better position to help people if I could just document my story, because a lot of people are going to come from where I was with low pay, you know, low income, paycheck to paycheck, didn't have goo gobs of money to start out with, you know, and I wanted to be able to tell the story in a way that people could digest and hopefully benefit from the things that I did. Because again, the book talks about my credit cleaning up, about saving more, about how to get better jobs by networking and being likable and having a positive attitude and visualizing your goals. And all of this stuff is in the book, Proven Pathways to Wealth and Happiness. And that's what motivated me to write it, was because I wanted to be able to tell the story in a way that people could understand and still get into real estate investing, because that's what I talk about pretty much in the last chapter of the book, the last 2 chapters of the book.
Now, how did you get into real estate investing?
So another great story. When I was in Atlanta, so back in 2013, I was working for a company that had already decided they were going to be closing the doors on the company. And so I was offered a position there where I was going to stick around for about 6 to 9 months, however long it's going to take to shut down the company. And if I stayed, I would get a severance check, you know. And so I was planning to stick around, of course, to get that. And during that process, I met a lady who, the company was a debt collection company, and they were doing title loans, right? These title loans. And so they had a portfolio of about 1,000 accounts left. And this guy was just trying to basically either get those loans cleared out of their books or sell them to another company. Well, one of the ladies, one of the other companies I spoke to was a lady there named Natalie, who was considering buying these accounts from us. Well, fast forward, that conversation turned into them not buying those accounts, but her having an interest in me as my knowledge about that particular business. I got offered a job to move from Atlanta to Austin, Texas, and that changed my income. Basically, it increased my income by $40,000 a year. I went from making
because the cost of living in Texas is cheaper than everywhere else. No, it's not. I've always heard that. I'm sorry.
Not that big of a gap, though. Not quite. But actually, I was paying less rent in a better, probably better kind of community, so to speak. But I was making $40,000 more a year. That's just flat out.
That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line.
That's great.
So what happened was, we sold a house that we had, our first time home buyer house in Atlanta. We sold that and were able to make like a $20,000 profit from that. So I was like, man, we only lived here like 2.5 years, and I'm walking away with $20,000. And so we were able to clear our debts out. And by moving to Austin, I was like, man, I got to figure out a way where I could get more of those kind of deals going. I've always been into real estate investing. So I came across a company that was doing like a 2-day weekend class, and my wife and I decided to go. And, of course, just like we talked about, they were offering you, hey, give us $8,000 and we'll teach you how to be the best real estate investor in life. You just go to sleep and wake up tomorrow, you're a millionaire. And, we got what we needed from the 2-day class. And they gave us a little booklet. And we decided we would not fail at this, and we weren't going to spend the money we had towards more classes with them. We were just going to invest in property. So the long story short of it is that we went to a 2-day weekend and learned the basics of real estate investing. And from there, we just really continue to consume as much information and networking and meeting people so that we could figure out how to do it successfully.
That's awesome. But so much is like that. It's, not everything you're going to go to. Obviously, look, you take what you can get and you get what you can take. Yeah. In terms of information and knowledge. And, but again, so to go back to your quote for your book, like what were you uncomfortable at all with any of the process moving from Atlanta to Austin?
My God, man, I got to tell you, Larry, that was probably one of the hardest decisions of my life. Because at that time, I already spoke about the kids that we had, so we had blended our family, and the youngest one was the one that was in the house with us. And So she was at that point a junior in high school, you know, really going through the boyfriend phase and stuff. Plus, you know, we had just bought this house in Atlanta, you know, maybe 2 years before. So there was no plans to move ever, and definitely not to Texas. And so there was some soul searching and some very emotional conversations that had happened during that period of time. I ended up moving and getting us set up while, you know, my wife dealt with trying to sell the house back in Atlanta, and we got our daughter stabilized and whatnot. But it was a very tough move, and I was extremely uncomfortable. And then once I got comfortable in Texas, here comes my wife, you know, and I got to get her comfortable with Texas and, you know, make sure that she's got everything she needs, because I've just uprooted her from the state that she was born and raised in and away from her family. And so there was that going on. And and to get into real estate investing, period, I'm saying, okay, I've never saved up $12,000 in my life, and I finally got it. I'm willing to throw it away for this gamble of real estate investing. Really scary stuff, man. So I had to basically get out of my own way, believe in the knowledge that we had. And again, there were some good people around us, some mentors around us that were willing to help us get off the ground running pretty good. And we just dove in, and 3 years later, you know, it was the best decision of my life to get us into real estate investing. You know, I'll talk more about that in the book and maybe in another interview, but I decided to pull about $5,000 out my 401k plan, which people tell you, never take money from your 401k. You're crazy. What are you doing? Well, 3 years later, you know, that $5,000 I took out of my 401k turned into a 300% profit on that cash. I would have not gotten that growth in my 401k plan.
Yeah.
You've got to take risks if you want to accomplish something. You know, you can't just sit idly by. And, you know, again, as a filmmaker, I can't even spell 401k. But I think a lot of time people just hold and protect that this is going to keep me safe. But if it's just sitting there, it won't do anything for you, and you're going to get comfortable with that.
Exactly.
Man, I tell you. So I here's one big question. I mean, you're is it safe to say you're a motivational speaker?
I believe it is safe to say that, Larry.
Yeah, and but also people can contact you. I mean, you go out and you speak to groups, and they can hire you to come out, right, and talk to you, because that you should do that. I mean, if you don't do it, you should do it.
Yes, they can do that. There will be an opportunity to book me, and I would love that opportunity, especially if it's a group of people that just really want to transform their lives. I want to help people transform lives, man. I mean, I know it sounds cliche, but I really do. I've seen so many people struggle, and I've struggled, and nothing's funner than having a room full of people that don't have a financial worry, you know, and we can all have a good time. We don't have to be millionaires. We just all agree that we're going to go and have a good night out on the town, but nobody's worried about, my pockets are tight, my funds are, you know, that kind of stuff. Life is so much better when everybody's happy around you, you know?
That's right. Well, everybody listening to this, please do yourself a favor. Cause I'm super motivated right now, just by listening to you and really, you know, all this, the stuff on your website that you've got, and the biggest thing really is the quote from you, regarding your book. Obviously I keep going back to it, speaks to me at this very moment, you know. It's just, you are absolutely an amazing person, and you're so blessed, and I can see that just like Eric said, just like you said, you're planting the seeds, but also it's just like Eric said, you need to water those seeds, and from the outside looking in, you are absolutely doing that, and you're being a blessing to everybody that you come in contact with. And I just thank you for being a blessing for us today. Thank you so much.
Before we get into the closing segment, speaking of watering seeds, you are involved in mentorship. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So, and first of all, I want to say thank you, Larry. I really appreciate those kind words. It really means a lot to me. So before the book, the real estate, any of that, I've always been, and I've worked in call centers and collections, things like that. And so I started getting promoted at one point and was managing people. And when I first got the very first promotional job, the first thing I told myself, I said, I want to be the kind of manager that I can teach people and I can help people learn the job, but they don't feel like I'm talking down to them. I'm the overseer, that kind of thing. And so having that attitude, a lot of people gravitated towards me. So in my teams at work, in my collections field, I was always asked to mentor people, train people. And I love that. I enjoy seeing that aha moment in people's face when something really connects for them. And I had something to do with that. And so now that we've done some successful real estate deals, I want to help people figure that out. And we've turned our credit situation around. And I want to be able to help people in that regard. So you're absolutely right. I think there's so many things that I can talk to people about, but ultimately I just want to help mentor people become better in whatever areas, especially financial, credit, and real estate related matters, or setting goals. I think I figured out a few things that have worked, and I figured out a lot of things that didn't work. And so I like to be able to share that with people so they don't have to go through the same heartaches that I went through. But I truly do enjoy mentoring and helping people get that aha moment.
Mm.
Beautiful. Very
And I
beautiful.
think what that aha moment is the perfect way to end the episode. So now this is a quick question. If somebody buys your book from your webpage, there's no split with Amazon when it comes to that, right?
No, there is not.
Okay, so do not go to Amazon to buy it. Buy it directly from him. Now, we talk about this a lot. One of the big things in independent film right now is self-distribution, not going to a middleman to sell your product. So there will not be an Amazon link. Go directly to his webpage, again, and purchase the book.
Yes.
Don't just read it. Let it soak into you when you read it. Study it. Get yourself a highlighter, a number 2 pencil, circle it. Mess that book up with all your notes that you put into it. And don't lend it to people. Bring them to the webpage so they could buy it.
Actually, better yet, bring them together and get Victor to come and talk to you guys and motivate.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's get that going.
I like that.
Okay, everyone. And again, to all the listeners, thank you for standing by us for almost 2 years now, Larry, since we've been doing this.
Wow.
And again, everyone, just have an awesome week. And again, a very happy, safe, and blessed New Year.
But see, this is the thing. I got to just say this. This is your people that are listening to this and that just stumbled onto this and follow us and listen to this. Please let this be your motivation for 2019. Set your goals and rock everybody's world, especially yours. And I just want to say thank you, Victor. Thank you. Thank
you, guys. I really appreciate it. This was a whole lot of fun. Something podcast. I love it.
Thank you so much, man. And if you really want to get motivated after what Larry said, go to YouTube right now. Type in "This Is the Moment" from the Dr. Jekyll musical. It will bless you in a whole bunch of ways. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Kids and being comfortable. But we got to get uncomfortable if we want to grow.